In a 2005 Nissan Sentra, and it's here for two issues. The first one being the mirror, obviously needs a new mirror. The second one is this does not seem to do anything. It's always blowing out hot air. You feel that? Yeah, it's pretty toasty. So this doesn't seem to do anything. This might be a simple fix. As you can see, I have all this stuff taken apart, and it actually comes out pretty easy. I'd say in about a minute you could get all this stuff out. And here goes your problem. Let's see. So the cable is supposed to be underneath that little black clip right there, but it's not. And it looks like the plastic behind it where it kind of retains it is broken. So I don't know if there's a cheap repair here, but the right way to fix it would be to replace this whole unit, the HVAC or the control unit, whatever you want to call it. So it seems to be working now. Let's see if we get a good shot in there. Alright. So like I said, the correct way to repair this would be to replace this whole unit right here. But I use a set of zip ties right there to hold the cable down, and it seems to be working. If it lasts and the customer wants to keep it like that, great. If they want to replace it, they always can. No harm done. And honestly, one zip tie did the trick, but any job worth doing is worth using two zip ties. And the AC actually works on this car. Car gets cold, car gets hot. Car gets cold, car gets hot. Alright, so here we got a 2013 Kia Rio, and customer is having issues with the alternator not charging, and it's been leaving him stranded and stuff like that. So we checked the battery while the car is running, and no charging comes from the battery. Okay, we got 12 volts, but if we go to the stud over here on the actual alternator, now we have 13.4 volts. Okay. The issue we're having here is, you can see a lot of heat has been happening right here. You can see how that looks. So if we come here, we have this battery voltage. We come to this stud right here. Again, just battery voltage. We come over to this stud. Down here. That right there looks like we're getting power from the alternator. And back over here once again. And back down to battery voltage. So if we zoom in right here, you can see how there's a lot of heat right here, and this thing just looks like it melted. So that right there is our problem. The customer may not have to replace the alternator. Alright, so it seems like we have a repair here. As you can see, I cleaned up the connections. I got all that weld slag off of there. Put a little bit of dielectric grease at the base. We got a new nut for it. Everything's nice and tight. I think the issue we were having here is that these two nuts were loose, because when I went to loosen them, it didn't take much effort. So that was creating the extra resistance and all the heat and stuff. So now that everything's tightened up and cleaned, now see we're getting our 13.6 volts at the battery. So that's a fix. Real nice, easy one here. Alright, so I got the engine supported, and the subframe is practically already off of the car. As you can see, it doesn't have the bolts. In fact, no bolts are holding the subframe anymore. The only thing holding the subframe is that floor jack, these two red jack stands, because I took all the bolts out. Yeah, real pain in the butt here. and I had to disconnect the rack and pinion, so we're gonna need power steering fluid. And the show is over, well, at least for tonight. As you can see, I got the subframe off, and it's about 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that. I'm done for tonight. So we could have a better look at this thing now that it's out. And it looked like someone already tried repairing it. You could see like patches down here of metal that someone put in. Oh, you can't see that side very well. A lot of the damage is underneath it. Alright. We are making some good progress on this subframe. I think it was a good one. And we're just transferring all the parts over at this point. So now that we got the subframe completely taken apart, you get a better look at this. Yeah, it's pretty bad. And you could even see where someone tried to repair this and they put like sheets of metal here. Pretty shitty job if you ask me, but the subframe was no good to begin with, so it's falling apart here. Alright, so one of the final steps is to get the mounts off of the engine, then we can put the subframe up, but you can see the condition of these mounts. That's pretty bad. Here's a new one. But we are pulling overtime here. The subframe is completely in, and we are just, you know, full throttle ahead trying to get everything together. The subframe is now holding the engine up, and here goes the last engine mount. Look at this thing. Yeah, so much needed, and everything is a freaking pain in the ass on this car. But it's late, but we're just gonna keep on going to get it done. We are all done with the Pacifica. Subframe is in, everything's all together. We took it out for a test drive, and it is incredibly different from the first time I took it out for a test drive. It's hard to notice this, but the engine actually sits much higher than it did before. It's not sagging down. And during the test drive, the brakes felt great, and it's just so much more quiet than it was before. Before we had all this clunky noise and all that crap. So it's driving good. I'm happy with it, and right now we are just rotating the wheels and take it in for a wheel alignment. It'll be all set. Here we have a Oldsmobile Alero, and if you look at the rear wheel, you can tell it just doesn't look right. It's like tucked in. So what happened is the customer was driving. It was just way too early in the morning, he said, and he kind of fell asleep at the steering wheel for a few seconds. He hit a curb, and I'm not sure what those arms are called. I'm just gonna call them the two lower control arms. They go from the knuckle to the body of the car, and they are bent. So we have new parts here. The problem is it's just so rusty and crusty underneath the car that I'm not sure if I could even get this done. So I'm gonna attempt it, but we'll find out. Okay, so this is amazing. It's actually coming apart pretty easy. Well, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but one of the arms, the one in front right here, is pretty much out already. And despite it looking all rusty crusty, as you can see, they're coming out surprisingly easily. Look at this. Look at this bolt. Super clean. It's amazing. The jobs that look like a pain in the ass turn out to be easy, and the ones that say, or you think they'll be 5 minutes, those ones that turn into a nightmare. So hopefully the other arm, which is the one that's really bent, comes off just as easy. As you can see, both of them came out without a problem. Super easy. Well, I don't want to say super easy. What I mean is they came out as they should, instead of like the bolts being stuck in the bushings, or the bolts just not wanting to come out, period. But you can see how far bent these arms are. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the new ones back on and tighten everything up, and it should be all set. So everything's going together pretty easy. And it's weird now because this is the side of the car that was hit, so obviously you see the arms are bent. But now that we have a reference, you know, a brand new one, you can see how straight it is. So when you come look at the I just bit my tongue. When you come look at the other side, you can see these are also bent, and that's just from years of you know, beating on them. But if you did not know that they're supposed to be completely straight, you wouldn't even know that they were bent. But I'm sure the customer's not worried about these, so we're just gonna leave that. I'll mention it to him, but it's not the issue here. I removed the jack stand, and now I have the car supported with the floor jack only, and it's right here. It's to simulate the car being on the ground, and now I could finally tie in all of the bolts. So this big one that goes through the knuckle, and the two bolts that go in the body over there, could tighten everything down now. If you tightened everything while the suspension was unloaded, you're just reducing the life of the bushings by a lot. So after this, the car will be all set. This Acura CL is back once again. It's the one I just put the rack and pinion in. This time it's a no start situation. Now I did drive over here, so intermittently it acts up, and it's actually acting up right now. And as you can see, I have it in neutral and it did not make a difference. Oh, it did start that time. Turned off. Try it again. There we go. Put it back in park. Nothing. The customer has had it on for a while. He was at work and even left the car running while he was at work in fear of it not starting when he comes out. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and you know, check for voltage drop, but it's probably a bad starter. Alright, so just go ahead and check one more time, make sure it's not starting. Okay, still not starting. Let's give it the old whack with the hammer trick. This starter is conveniently placed right here on top. So here's the solenoid. I don't have anyone here to help me, so let's see. Alright, so before I start pulling the starter out, it's looking like it's a starter, but let's check for a voltage drop. I got my negative lead over there on the post. I know you're not going to be able to see it, but just to confirm that we are on it, we should be able to put this to positive and get battery voltage, which we are. So I'm going to set the camera up right here, and we are going to see if there's any voltage drop. Okay, so it looks like we have no voltage drop, and just to make sure my connection down there is still in place, and yes it is. So it looks like we have no voltage drop, and the S wire or S terminal coming from the ignition switch, I'm not really worried about it, because even if the car doesn't start, we still get that hard clicking sound, which tells me we're getting power to that solenoid from the ignition switch. So at this point I'm not really worried about it. It looks like it's just going to be a bad starter. Before anyone says anything about checking the ground before I replace the starter, this ground cable right here goes straight to the body. There's absolutely no corrosion on it. And then the main ground cable going to right there, right to the bell housing for the transmission, I replaced this cable not too long ago, so it's fairly new, and I know the connection down there is also good. So I was not worried about ground getting to the starter. I guess we started changing the starter just in time, because soon after I shut off from the last video I shot, the car would not start, and it did not matter how many times I was hitting on that starter solenoid, it just would not start after that. So I said the heck with it, just gonna go ahead and put the new starter in. So it's all done. The only thing not connected is the air box, and it should start. Moment of truth. And there we go. Try it one more time. Nice. Looks like this one is all set. I'm just gonna finish putting it back together. So my mom brought over her Chevy HHR once again, and this light is unforgiving. But we need a new mirror. You know, this is like the third mirror she's gone through. Yeah, thug life, right? Anyway, so we got a replacement one online. The only thing is, hers is like painted to match the color of the car, and the only one I could find online was this chrome one. She's gonna be like business on the right, party on the left. Another issue we're having with the HHR is left side headlight wouldn't work until you reach down here and just kind of mess with the connection. So I pulled the bulb out, and this is what's going on here. So I'm gonna try to clean this up and salvage it. If not, it's gonna need a new connector. So we ended up getting a new connector on it. Where's the old one? Oh, right here. So you can see how destroyed that thing was. New one has a new crimped pieces on. Everything is heat shrinked, and it's got that glue inside of it to protect it. We tested it out already. Headlight works just fine now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this back in its wire loom, wrap it up, and make it look pretty. Here we have a '01 Hyundai Elantra. Came in on the hook. It's got all kinds of problems. The lady's telling me it's got these check engine lights, there's gasoline leaking, blah blah. I told her, look, the car will not start. I am not concerned about no check engine light, no codes or anything like that. It literally no crank, no start. Okay, so I checked everything, and the starter on this thing is kind of a pain in the butt to get to. Everything checked out except for one thing that I needed to confirm, which is the S terminal going to the starter. So I just reached my hand behind there to see if I could probably, you know, probe it to see if there's any power going to it. And what do I see, or what do I find? That the S terminal is completely disconnected. So I plug it in, and now the car cranks. Well, listen to this. Oh, it almost started right there. I know what's going on here. So here's what's going on. That is your problem. It's just pouring gasoline out, so we have no fuel pressure. But why was that S terminal disconnected from the starter? How the heck did it fall off? I have no idea. That's crazy. Taking a close look at this thing. Look at that. What is that, like some sort of clay or something? Some sort of putty on that fuel line? Someone's been in here messing with this crap. This car is from the people that they keep working on it, or a specific guy keeps working on his car. He keeps doing hacks like this, and then they bring it over and expect me to fix it. Really tired of this crap. We got a weird issue going on. We have a 97 Dodge Durango here. It's a crank no start, okay? And I've been here for a little while trying to figure out what's going on here, but I noticed that whenever the scanner is plugged in, the car starts and runs perfectly fine. If I were to unplug my scanner right now from the DLC, the car shuts off. So really interesting. I don't know what's going on here just yet. Figure, let me start looking for whatever grounds I can find. So I decided to kick off this side kick panel, if you will. And the first thing I noticed is we have a ground cable that's not connected to anything, and it looks like it should go right there. Another thing I noticed is, look at this bolt, completely loose. Here's a follow-up on this Dodge Durango that would only run while my scanner was connected. So what I do, okay, these bolts that I showed you earlier, they were loose. I tightened them up. It was the same thing on that side. I'm assuming the car had the dash out at one point to either replace a heater core or something. That's why this stuff is loose. And I put a bolt and this ground strap. I'm sure this stuff is not the problem because it's been like this for years, okay? And it's been driving fine. But let's go ahead and check it now. As you can see, it runs. Nothing connected to the DLC. So what fixed it? Honestly, I don't know. I disconnected the battery for about 5 minutes, reconnected it. All of a sudden the car works. Yeah.
witchcraft. I don't know. You ever had a situation like this where you can't explain what fixed it?